Just watch this. This is Nairobi, my capital city, probably the most beautiful city in the world. This is in one of the leafy suburbs of Nairobi. Do you know what prados are? In Africa, the Toyota Prado is the commonest status vehicle, and it's taken over all our roads. But one morning, some very, very proud family of lions decided that they would walk with the prados. So as we came out of our houses and drove to work, there were these lion family walking on the road with the prados. Be in their shoes. They had escaped from the Nairobi National Park, went through the electric fence, and there they were walking. Mothers, babies, father, all of them. And we were in the cars because these cars are not self-driving. So we were looking at them. So what do you think about Nairobi? Half of you will say that this is a beautiful city. You don't have to go to the zoo to watch animals. Some of you will say this is a very dangerous place. You need a car that you can lock the windows and the doors. But for me, in this, I see a tragedy. And the tragedy is that the male lion, the head of this pride, was shot dead 2 weeks later. And it was not shot dead by poachers, it was shot dead by the authority that looks after animals and the parks in Kenya. And the reason why it was shot dead was because it is the one that was leading all these lions out of the park every morning to take this stroll with the prados. And they couldn't understand how it could find these holes on the fence and walk through. And because we were all afraid that anything could happen and they could sedate it, they shot it. Maybe most of you didn't hear that, but I know that many of you heard about the shooting of Cecil, the Zimbabwean lion. And I'm just wondering why you heard more about Cecil and you protested so much and not about this lion, this innovative lion that could get out of the park every morning and walk with the prados. Maybe it's because it didn't have a name. Maybe because it was called Cecil. And Cecil is a name that you'll identify with. And this is where the tragedy is today in the world in health. Because as you've had the whole morning and this afternoon, we have the power to track everything, including the missile that brought down that tragic Malaysian airline. But today, we can't track down the number of women who die or the children who die on this planet. But we can tell you what's on Pluto, that Pluto is no longer turning because of something. And that is where I'm beginning to ask myself this new power. Who owns it? Can it be used not just to track the missile carrier, but also these women that we love, who are my sisters, these children, who are your children, my cousins. What is it that makes it impossible for us to do this? Why can't they walk with the prados and live to be owners of prados too? This is the question. And in Africa, something very interesting is happening. That this technology here, the cell phone, the smartphone, is not being used merely to to greet each other in the morning and send photos, but for something much more fundamental: saving lives, remaining alive. And this tool is being used differently by young African innovators to do the things that we've seen here today, but also to ask the question that, can we reduce the very, very high maternal mortality that we have in my part of the world? One of the disadvantaged counties in my country has a maternal mortality ratio of 3,750. That's Kenya. That is 1,000 higher than you have here in Holland. And it's not too far away. It's only 7 hours away from here by flight. That's what it took me. And what are we doing with this? Something very interesting. That the last 60 years, and I've been alive 60 years, in fact, from the life expectations of a Kenyan, I'm already 6 years dead. The last 6 years, 60 years of independence in Africa, we've been trying to reduce maternal mortality, and it isn't happening. Definitely not fast enough. We've been trying to do something about ill health. Did you know that today, every second, 3 people are driven to poverty, absolute poverty, because of ill health? Because they have to pay out of pocket. 3 people every second. So since we met here 8 hours ago, 60 seconds, how many people are poorer while we are sitting here and talking about the new power? Why is that happening? So, first thing, we have WHO, all the multinational, you have your governments giving all the money, health initiatives, big, universal health care, safe motherhood, name it. But things don't change that fast for some people. And the first thing I tell you is because we don't know where they are. They're anonymous. They're the male lion. Nobody knows them. They have no name. Namelessness. They are not connected. And yet, every year, big monies are happening. But we don't know for whom that big money should be happening. So with this in Ghana, the last 1 year, we have created an app that allows the Ghanaian government to not only target, but track the poor and give them health insurance. So it's no longer money given to a region, but to specific people. And I can follow it here, the minister in Ghana can follow it, and they will know how many people were targeted and recruited today based on a criteria that has been created by the government itself. You know it, you clever guys. This thing is possible. It is possible to target the people that we need to get our money to. But not only that, why are you people all so comfortable here, not worried that you get a heart attack if I shout too loud? It's because you have something you call health insurance. Don't call it Obamacare, but health insurance. And this is the one thing that people in the developing world don't have. Is it because it's too expensive? No. They say that we cannot manage it, that we cannot find people to cover and everything. That's not true. This gadget here, it's happening in Kenya today. Did you know that we are more advanced than all of you in the movement of money? Did you know that while Professor Yunus of Bangladesh got a Nobel Prize for banking the unbankable, the cell phone has banked all Kenyans, 40 million of them? We are all banked, and there's no banker. I can move money faster than you can move it with your credit card. I don't need a credit card. To the remotest village in Kenya. So using that M-Pesa technology, you know what's happening next? We are now creating a wallet where people can put money for the rainy day to take care of their health. The poor person can do it in the slums of Nairobi, in the villages in northeastern Kenya. And it can be done. And you know what it costs? To cover a whole family of man, wife, and 4 kids is $5 a month. $5 a month for 1 year covers a whole family. Just imagine how much money all these foundations are putting all over to these nameless people that they can't even track. And yet, if that money went into this wallet, you can track it from here, guys. That person identified as poor, paid $5 a month, insured fully for the whole family, immunization, family planning, name it. That is happening now. Now the question is that if these things are happening, then why aren't we doing it? So, being a well-read person, a guy from a neighboring country here many years ago came up with this quote, that whatever you can do, dream or you dream you can, begin it. And the new power, the boldness and the genius in the new power. And as I look at you, I look at those women, I look at those lands, the only thing that I see here is that we are not living up to this. The audacity, the boldness to begin it. Because every time you talk to big organizations about what you can do differently in Africa and you can lose technology, they say, no, you're not technologically adept. Absolutely nonsense. Every time you tell them that the administrative costs of all the big monies that are moving around the world and are not making a difference can be used differently, they say, show me how. And you are here. Guys, you are here today in the cusp of time. Of the people presented here today, I think I'm the oldest. Most of them are millennials. Most of them have their future ahead of them. Health, disease is not a cultural thing. Health, disease is not a nationality. It is something that humanity must tackle together. And there's one new power that has come to us that's working anywhere in the world, definitely in my Africa. And that is the technology that is in here. If we use this today, you know what will happen? All those women, we can save most of them. All those newborns, we definitely can. Interestingly, the 3 people that fall into poverty every second, that's 100 million people a year, we can make a difference. To me, this is what is the new power. Getting the new power, but it won't work until we do this. Begin it. So we've heard, we have seen today, but are we doing it? Can we do it together? Not just so that we can tweet and send all kinds of silly messages to each other, but give life to people who need it most. Thank you.